feeling of not feeling good was familiar. And you know how this got familiar? Because of the on cycle that you kept going through with your avoidant partner. It was like a dopamine kick. It's like all of a sudden you're sad, and then you get that one text from him or that one call to come over, and you're like, oh my God, he texted me. And then you're like lifted up and just high, right? It feels good. But then after maybe you went over there, you had sex, and he didn't text you for 2 days, then you're back down, right? Does that sound familiar? Yeah.
It's always easier to just walk away. But
Yeah.
you've literally done everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I gave him too many tears. Like, and it's sad because like now that I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, I was really secure, but like this made me feel like I wasn't worthy of love or anything. Like he really made me feel like I wasn't enough, and that I would never be enough because of like him just keep saying he's not ready, and then I'm saying this is something that would make me feel secure. Even if you're not ready, this is something that you could do, like calling me every day, even if it's for 10 minutes. That would make me feel so good. He's like, I can't do that. I can't do that. Like what? Like what? Why am I even here? Like what is this?
To do the bare minimum.
The bare minimum. Like what?
And you're not asking for materialistic shit. You're asking for genuine
connection.
Things
like
that he could give you easily if he wanted it.
Exactly. Like this is the type of men that are manipulative. Like they are boys on the inside. They haven't healed from their childhood traumas, and they're just gonna bring down every single girl they meet because that uplifts them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they feed on.
And it's like they target a strong woman to see, damn, can I break her down? And then once they break her down and she's needy, I promise you, I know he was talking to another girl. Like they might have just started, but I knew. I felt like
but you could feel it.
I could feel it. I was like, the good morning texts were getting later and later. I was like, who are you texting good morning then? Like, I know you're texting someone. I know you wake up with the thought of someone on your mind. Like, it's human nature. Like, yeah. But it is what it is. I'm glad I'm out of there.
It's going to be a little rough to get over it, but you're moving in the right direction, one step at a time.
Yeah. I didn't cry today. So that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Girl, little wins. Shit, man.
Yeah, little wins. But I do wish him the best, but I just don't care to be there for him. Like, I don't care anymore.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. The energy around you and how it started to shift, because that had to be a lot of dark energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So your body's probably like, what is this happiness?
Right. Like, I don't know. It was so weird. Like, I was shaking, like, earlier today because, like, a group of guys were, like, complimenting me. And I was like, why am I shaking? Like, I was like, I've been complimented so many times before. Why am I shaking?
Yeah.
It's like my body's having nerves.
Yeah.
I guess, like...
Appreciate my beauty.
Right.
So other people can't see it.
Right. Like, it was like compliments only mattered when it came from him. Like, but now it's like, oh my God, like, someone else complimented me and it felt better. Like, it felt great.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So.
I love that. It's only going to get better from here. I know that doesn't sound great, but I promise it will.
Amen. I have faith. Hi, my name's Amina, and welcome back to my channel. On my channel, I love to talk about content about self-development, healing, self-worth, and channeling spirituality through religion, God, and metaphysics. So I started this channel off with a phone call that I had with my sister. I originally wasn't going to record, but I felt like this was just something that is actually a prominent topic in my life, and in me trying to be more authentic with my content and what I'm going through, and to help you guys, of course, grow also, I just decided to, roll the camera and start recording. If you guys didn't understand, like, the premise of it, like, during the recording, I'm currently going through a situationship breakup, which I know is one of the most toxic breakups ever, because you technically weren't with the person, and technically you didn't really break up. like a breakup because it's like an emotional distancing from the person that you created this bond with, or maybe even soul ties or toxic ties. I'll start off by talking about the relationship. I met this guy in college a while back. We started off as really good friends. We didn't have any expectations at the beginning. It was really just two good friends dating other people, also dating each other, sleeping around, of course. God forgive me.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Um, as you can see, that doesn't lead to anywhere good. And it kind of just, after the years passed, like it manifested into like us on again, off again, on and in, off again, as you know, these situationship partners, or these like friends with benefit partners. Eventually, it got to the point where it was kind of no longer friends with benefits for, I guess, me. And at that point, I also thought it was for him too. It started to change, like our dynamic. It was like he would ask me on dates, and he would show up with flowers, and he would start complimenting me, and he would do these things that kind of I took or perceived as like, oh, this guy must want me, or this is relationship type habits. Don't fall for it. What I learned though is that the more that I didn't think much of the relationship was the time that he wanted to put in the most effort. And that is really what essentially hooked me. In the beginning, I thought it was just, ice cream and lollipops, so I didn't have a care in the world. And I was just going through the flow of it because I didn't think that there was anything serious. Until he made me perceive it was something serious by being a little bit more, consistent. So for the first few months, we started, and it was very consistent. It was calling, texting, dates, coming over, knowing that I was like the number one person in his life. As soon as we started to develop like these true feelings of genuinely wanting to know each other, or like a deeper connection, that's when I felt the shift. This is something that happens with a lot in relationships, and it's just crazy that I think now at my grown age, I'm figuring out what the shift is. And the shift really is based off of attachment styles. So in this particular relationship, I was originally secure. I was secure because I didn't have any expectations for the relationship. I didn't really expect much, and I knew my place and his place. When the relationship started to get a little bit more heated, a little bit more serious, I became anxious and he became avoidant. Yeah.
Ah, you're teasing me. Naughty, naughty.
So let me break it down. An avoidant attachment style can be many different. A fearful avoidant, a dismissive avoidant, or even like a narcissist mixed avoidant. There could be so many different types, but essentially an avoidant is someone who avoids. When there is conflict or a situation that makes a person feel uncomfortable because it's new terrain, or something that may perceive to be taking away their freedom or independence, this is when the shift happens. The avoidant perceives that the anxious attachment person, i.e. me, is trying to take over their space, is trying to, and in a sense, cage them or, kind of lay domain and say, you are no longer independent and you will be mine forever.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
Even though that's really not the case, and the anxious person is in itself just anxiously seeking validation. As an anxious person, which I used to identify as, I'm currently working on being back to secure, but an anxious person is someone who gets anxious or seems or perceives to be needy because they are asking for activities, events, situations, or things from their dismissive partner. So for example, an avoidant partner might perceive an anxious partner as anxious if they say something like this: why haven't you called me today? I feel like you haven't called me in weeks. The anxious person is clearly just saying that she's missing him and and she feels like there's been some distance in their calling, and that she would really appreciate it if he just called her more. The avoidant person sees it as, dang, I can't get any space. Do you need me to call you every day to feel good? The avoidant starts to see the anxious person as they need this and that for their self-worth. And that in turn makes the avoidant person push even further. So instead of being consistent, they become inconsistent. And you might be thinking, like, why? Like, why does me showing that I care push them away? Because the avoidant person doesn't want to feel cared for. They don't want that. The avoidant person wants their space. They want to know that you're going to be around, but at an arm's distance. So that's what they try to do. They try to bring you in, to leave you at arm's distance. And whenever you start that cat and mouse chase, then they pull away. And when you finally, you're like, you know what, I'm sick of it, there they come, running back in again to pull you back into the cycle. Does that sound familiar? I'm sure it does. If that is a familiar situationship that you're constantly in with your partners, then you may have an anxious attachment style, or maybe you're the avoidant attachment style. I don't know, depending on who is watching this video, you're probably one of them. If you're secure, I'm pretty sure you're not watching this video. No offense. But back to the relationship. So me and this guy, as I tried to mend the relationship, is what I felt I was doing with my neediness and anxiousness, when I simply should have just been walking away after I got my answer of he can't do the simple needs that is required.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Doesn't that sound crazy, guys? Like, I couldn't walk away from a guy who didn't make me feel good. And you know why? Because the feeling of not feeling good was familiar. And you know how this got familiar? Because of the on cycle that you kept going through with your avoidant partner. So when you're with your avoidant partner, it feels like a dopamine kick. It's like all of a sudden you're sad, and then you get that one text from him or that one call to come over, and you're like, oh my God, he texted me. And then you're like lifted up and just high, right? It feels good. But then after maybe you went over there, you had sex, and he didn't text you for 2 days, then you're back down, right?
Now I'm really mad.
Does that sound familiar? This is the constant cycle of familiarity that we have when chasing a person or chasing this fix. We constantly look for our self-worth in other people. So chasing someone or getting that validation, which is what I received through that text message, or that wanting to come over, or that date that maybe he scheduled 30 minutes in advance that wasn't really properly thought out. It made me feel good. And like a kid in a candy store, I kept going back and back and back until finally I had enough. I know you're probably thinking, Amina, what made you have enough? And I have to say, it was a paradigm shift. I felt like in my one time of neediness, where I needed him the most, instead of needing him, I actually called on God. And God pointed me to myself. I know that sounds like, okay, how did this get spiritual? But I'm so serious. Like, I was very sad and was wondering why I'm feeling sad. And I had to look deep inside myself. What are the situations making me sad? A, is it me? Is it him? Is it the situation I'm in? Is it my thoughts? And all of these four came to the same conclusion. I did not feel good about myself and where I was. And that self-worth was taken away from me when I gave it to someone who didn't appreciate me and didn't respect me for what I was giving and needed in the relationship. When you're in a relationship with someone, no one really talks about how much it does to your psyche, your nervous system, and your physicality. We all know breakups can be hard, but no one really talks about going through silent breakups while you're in a relationship. Going through a silent breakup could be maybe you and your partner had an argument where you felt really disrespected, really taken advantage of, and maybe even dismissed by the conversation. It could have went something like this. Hey babe, I feel that we're not spending enough time together, and I don't really know who you truly are to your core. And he could say, we're spending so much time together. What do you mean? I just don't need someone who's needy. I need my independence. Maybe you need to find some hobbies or something like that. In that moment, you could feel, wow, maybe I am needy. Maybe I am asking too much and I'm putting too much pressure on him. And then you in turn start to put the pressure on yourself, saying that what you're asking for is not possible to yourself, telling yourself that what you're asking for is not, like no man is capable of it, even though they are. It's just that man isn't capable of it, or maybe not even willing to do it for you just because of the situationship you're in. You gotta break that belief, break that habit. And once I got hurt enough times, that is really when I broke it. And there's this weird saying that's like, oh, you just haven't gotten hurt enough. Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but when you get hurt enough, you're gonna get fed up on your own stuff. You're gonna get sick of your own shit and you're gonna pivot. And that is really like what made the catalyst to change to me. And I'm not gonna lie, I tried for maybe a month and a half to break it off, and it was really hard. At first, I started by muting text messages and, muting stories and not texting or responding as fast. But there was always a way that he got me looped back in. There was always like a sweet comment or a sweet gesture or something nice that made me feel like, oh, he's trying, even though it was at the last minute. And that's not what I want. I don't want a last minute man. And I got fed up. I know you're wondering, well, my mom called. I know you're wondering, well, how did you get out of that? So muting didn't work, nothing worked, and you really have to want to move on. You can't pretend like you're moving on. You have to move on. Block him. Delete his number. Delete the text threads. Delete the photos. Delete the videos. And move on. I promise you, if the man is truly for you, he'll come back with a new attitude, a new characteristics, and showing you that you're actually valued. But until then, girl, move on. And honestly, I'm not the type to give second chances. So you would have to be Jesus coming down from the cross to tell me to take this man back, okay? Because I'm sorry. I just got really serious right then. But block him. That would save you so much heartache, so much pain, because you're not constantly thinking about what he's doing, if his follower counts went up, if he's talking to another girl, or any of that. And girls, I know y'all do that. Don't play around, okay? Don't do that. We've all been there. And I know that there's an anxious attachment person on the other side of this, probably scrolling through their Instagram feed right now. Put down the phone and step back. And instead, turn that energy towards yourself. Focus on things that make you happy. Focus on things that bring the light and smile back to your face, that fills you up. You need to take that energy off of him and put it back on you. Make this your level up challenge. And you're not leveling up for him to take you back. You're leveling up for yourself. In my case, I blocked him and we didn't really have like a breakup because we weren't together. But I realized that I was putting my value and self-worth in the hands of another. And that is completely wrong. I had to take my self-worth and self back by blocking him, by noticing the disrespect and calling it out for what it was. And if I have already accepted the disrespect, then there's nothing left to do but to pivot and move on. A man will only give you what you accept and what you allow. Yeah, I was just done. I will encourage all of you guys, anxious attachments out there, to focus your energies on yourself, to work on becoming secure attachments, because you have it in you. And there's so much love I know want to give. Love to make others feel good around them, because that's how they get their value. When they feed other people, when they have acts of service, they're service providers, essentially. They feel amazing. So I ask you, anxious attachment styles, to put all of that service and energy into yourself. Develop your own habits. Develop your own routines outside of him. Find things that bring joy and light into your life. And just remember that it only gets easier. And you are loved and worthy of the deepest and most desirable, and the most desirable form of love, you guys. I appreciate that. That's my time to go break my fast, and I pray that God is with you always. Love you guys. Have a good night.